Blessed be everyone. Good day to all of you. Earthy Wise Woman here. And we're going to pick up on the last video, which was on sex magic. And we're going to continue on part two, sex magic. And by the looks of things and everything I have to say, I think this might be a three-part series. I could be wrong. So don't quote me on that. Anyway, like and subscribe below, please. And there is a link below if any of you guys would like a reading from me. And you can click below and we can make the arrangements. Now, on to what we were discussing about sex magic. Now, initially, the last video, we left off on how to perform sex magic with a couple, be it hetero or homo. Either way, you can do it as a couple, and I described it in the last video. Now, this video, I am going to describe how to engage in a solo approach to sex magic. Now, first, let's iterate one thing. Sex magic usually is more powerful with two people. However, do not diminish the power in one because you are yourself a divine entity. And within you, you have the energy of both male and female because it takes both of these entities to create us. So, just because you're solo doing this does not mean you don't have that quote unquote missing element because you do. Now, what one would do if we were doing this solo is now, I have heard some people doing some intense things. I do not suggest all of these things. In fact, I would strongly suggest you don't do some of them, okay? But I'm going to tell you all of them because um the reason I'm telling you is mainly because I'd rather you hear it from me with some cautionary quotes as opposed to you just going out there willy-nilly and just doing it without knowing there are some drawbacks to doing it that way. Anyway, let me get on and upward. Now, I know one practitioner who does it the way I'm about to describe. I myself would not do it this way. Um, he swears by it. He feels this works for him. So I'm going to explain to you what he does. Um, First of all, I want you to know that this person is, um, by his own description, a wizard. So, and he is a good friend of 25 years. He was a friend of my grandmother's and later on became a friend of mine. So, after all of the preamble, let me explain what his definition of sex and magic is. He takes an image candle, and I've got one right here. Now, this is a male image candle in purple. Now, the purple, I wanted to put it aside, I'm not going to. The purple usually can, in different tradition, it means different things. In voodoo or hoodoo, it is the purple is used to control someone else. So let's say this is your man, for women, and you want to control him. Well, you would use a purple image candle in order to do that control. Okay. Now, that being said, I'm going to put this candle aside. Like I said, different colors represent different things. I have done a video on colors before. I can see I'm going to have to do another one. Anyway, onward and upward. What my friend would do was to use the candle as a sexual implement. And he would insert it in areas of the body in which fluids would be extracted. He would then carve who and whatever name into the candle. Usually it is his own name, and then light it. Now, I am not going to suggest that. Number one, the reason I do not suggest that method of doing it is because I don't know who poured the wax. I don't know what's in the wax, and you could be allergic to it. Also, I mean, let's face it, for a lot of people, this is not exactly an easy thing to insert. I'm just saying. Now, is there another way of doing that that's a little bit safer? Yes. And so this is how I would do that. What I would suggest is that you can also self-stimulate. I'm not going to use the M word here on YouTube, but you can self-stimulate till fluids are extracted. Take some of these fluids. Now, there's two ways I'm going to do this. So I'm going to do the first way and then I'm going to do the second way. I'm going to explain the first way and then the second one. You would take these fluids, included into melted wax, then stir it up. While you are stirring these fluids into this melted wax, focus and meditate on the intention of what you want done to this. You know, with this candle, the purpose of it is. Pour the wax into a mold or a glass, whichever, and then you have your magical instrument on what you want it for. Okay. Now, I say it like that because I like image candles best. So that's just me. Okay. If this is done by a man doing self-stimulation, I would suggest he self-stimulates wearing a protophilastic. And then take the fluids out and then pour it into the candle wax and form the candle. Also, I'm sorry, I was drifting in my brain. What else I wanted to say? You can also just take the fluids and just wipe it all over a candle. Carve your name. And then use the candle for the purpose you want. Now, as you remember, we were discussing blood magic. And actually, everything I just said, you could do the exact same thing with blood magic. But the reason I like to suggest sexual magic over blood magic is the power. It is way more powerful using sexual magic because you have to build your body up to a crescendo, or whatever you want to say, to a popping point, you know, what an orgasm, in order to produce the fluid. So you've built and built and built, and then it comes out, which is very powerful, as opposed to just blood where you just kind of cut yourself and, drip it out. But the reason why I think blood is considered really cool is because it's blood. And, we've got Hollywood, and it's built blood up to being, oh my God, because because blood is a life force. You cannot live without blood. However, in sex magic, especially for men, the orgasm for a man is his blood. I mean, if you think about it, it's his life source. So of course, it is going to be very stimulating in that way. So think about it that way. Now, I'm going to also explain some other things when it comes to sex magic. Yeah, I stepped away for a moment. I'm back. Now, earlier you saw me using a purple candle, and you saw me explain to you what purple is for in voodoo. Now, old-time practitioners would have done this ritual where they would have taken a candle and done the act, the M thing, with the candle, but they would have carved the person they wanted to control on the back of the candle. Now, will that work? Yes, it would. I strongly do not suggest that. I stress do not do this because usually people do that in the act of love magic. At least they think it's love. But as I have learned over the year, passion runs shallow and stupid runs deep. And what that means is on a momentary desire to be with this person or have this person with you, and a momentary desire to have that person under your control, you will do something that is permanent. And because here's the thing, you're not getting the person in their right mind. I'm saying that this way. You can find a person who's an intelligent, level-headed person, and you perform a magic act where a spell where you do the M thing with this a purple candle, and you carve their name on the candle. By the way, you would have to carve the name prior to doing the M thing with the candle. And then all of you light the candle and you're like, okay, this person is under my control. The funny part about it is they're not in their right mind. So the mind that you might want, because we want people to love us, but we want people to love us of their own free will, because that makes it real, because they have chosen to love us. They have chosen to be with us. When you do a spell like that, that is not of their own free will. So you're not really having love coming from this person so much as you will be having obedience and compliance. But that's not love. And the thing about it is that obedience and that compliance, it's also going to be a bit of resentment there. So they'll be doing things like, I don't know why I'm with you, but I am. Okay, that's not love. Or, why am I still here? Why am I still with you? And here's the funny part, is somebody's like, well, I want them to be faithful. Okay, they'll be faithful to you. But at the end of the result, it would be the comment of, why in the hell am I with you? I don't even like you. And that's not love. But they're there. So keep that in mind when you're doing spells for love like this, because this is powerful. And I stress, powerful. Now, that being said and done, I've showed you how you can do sex magic with image candles. I know people who generally will do it with this is a phallic candle. Okay, and now I know it's got black marks on it because, okay, I dropped it. I'm only human. But this is a phallic candle, and this represents the male. Now, some people do not like using image candles because they may not want to control the person. They just might want to control the woo-woo, the feeling of the sex, how good it is in bed with this person. And this can represent both the sex and the person if we choose to. Remember, we're magical beings and we're powerful. So for white, this could represent pretty much anything, because as I've spoken to you before, white colors all aspects of the hue of colors, because all colors together combined make up the color white, which is not a color but a hue or a spectrum. So if you don't have, say, a color green, you could use white. Now, I'm going to get off the sexual part of, I don't know how I say that. Let me say the relationship part of sex magic and go for more of the prosperity. You could have used this candle, let's say this candle in the color green for yourself. And you would do the M thing. First, of course, you would carve your name on the candle. And this is for you. You would do the M thing and you will pour your essence all over this candle and light it. Or you can make a candle yourself and put the color green for prosperity. And this is where I change up. I would put the green color for prosperity, but I would also use a color for your astrological sign for the rest of the candle. I would mix your essence in with the part that is your astrological sign and pour the rest of the candle up. And therefore it is a prosperity candle. Or I would use red for not love, but for health. And I would do that. Or blue for health. Or even purple, because in Wicca and other traditions, purple represents enlightenment. It is opening up the third eye, our chakras opening to the universal messages that are coming to us. And I use that all the time. Also, I showed the penis. This is a vagina candle. Now, for a man, he would actually spill his seed up on this candle in a certain spot, as you can see. And prior, he would carve the name of the person on the candle and pour his seed all over it. Thus, and light the candle, thus it could, in a sense, bind that person to him. Would I suggest that? Again, passions run shallow and stupid runs deep. So you're not really getting that person. You might be getting their compliance. You might getting the sex from them, but you're not getting their heart. That is something they always will have of their own. And because a person, this is somewhat me diverging, because a person always has their heart, eventually the spell will wear thin and you will lose that person eventually. Unless they decide to, and this is where a lot of people make the mistake, unless they decide to fall in love with you. But even then, it is not a pure love, it's a tainted love. It's distorted. So I would tell you to be to not consider that. Now, it is also something we'll discuss this really quick. I would suggest, if a person wants to do something like the penis and the vagina candle, it would be good in a consummation ritual to, say, bind them together as a couple. Now, understand, this is something they have to do jointly. They desire to be bound, which is one of the things I would do that, say, if you want to do a ritual for marriage. Usually people like the marriage candle. But, and you can still do that. The only reason why I like it this way is because it's a visual representation. The marriage candle is too, but the wife is draped in a marriage, gown, and the guy's in a tux. And not everybody adheres to that particular tradition of marriage. I know that in Wicca, they do a hand fasting, and the initial hand fasting is a year and a day. And if they decide to stay together, then it can last for as long as it lasts. But once they decide they don't want to be together anymore, it ends. But if you were to do a ritual to bind yourself to someone like that, it would literally be the two of you making love, taking the fluids, and jointly smearing both fluids mixed together on both of the candles. And you can take a piece of hemp, a piece of cotton or wool. Notice I'm showing you natural materials. Don't be using those synthetics. I usually use a little piece of cotton thread because it's very hard for me to find wool thread. I don't even know if they make that, but they do make hemp. And that's fine too. Or a little piece of wool yarn, and that's pure. And I would tie the two together I'm upside down here. I would tie the two together with his name on the red candle, her name on the phallic candle, and wipe your essence joint together. Tie the candles together and light them. This is a bond that you have made. But I also want you to notice that as the candle burns and the wax will intermingle, usually the bond does not melt away. You know, it does. Somebody's like, well, it's going to catch fire. It usually doesn't. What happens is the wax drips down and it literally just mixes the wax together. And in that wax melting together, the string that ties the two candles together intermingles and melts with the wax. And when you do something like that, you would bury or keep it together until either the relationship is bound together, in which case you can just bury it and pour a glass of white wine on it and thank the goddess that you two are bounded. Or when the relationship no longer works and you two want to be parted and broken, you will take the wax and literally throw it in fire and let it just disintegrate and melt away till it's no good. So I would suggest you throw it into a fireplace. I know people throw it into barbecue pits. Not a good idea. Okay, now, believe it or not, there is more I want to discuss on sex magic. So it looks like that this is going to be a part 3. I hope that you guys feel the desire. If you want to, you can do this. Go back, take notes, get some ideas from this, and remember that magic is wonderful, magic is amazing, but magic should always be done with a sense of honor and responsibility. So please be responsible for your magic and be ethical. On that note, you guys, remember you are love within yourselves. Love yourselves. You are capable beings. You can overcome all things. And you got this. And this is Earthly Wise Woman saying, have a blessed day. And we will be taking up part 3 soon. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye-bye.